What's up, heroes, and welcome to episode 2 of the Hero and the Sage podcast. Today, for this episode, our guest is none other than the one and only Mike Devries. And not only is he a legend in color realism, but he's also the owner of MD Tattoo Studios and MD Wipeouts. MD Wipeouts is a proud sponsor of ours, and I love them. Not only do I like that they're durable, they're pre-packaged, and they leave no residue behind, but they are literally pre-sterilized and pre-packaged. So what that means is, guys, is when you leave this paper towel all over the place on dirty surfaces, dusty surfaces, you knock it over, you handle it without gloves, and use it over many sessions. This is not a sterile way to handle your paper towels, and these are shit and cheap, right? When you talk about a pre-packaged, pre-sterilized premium paper towel that leaves no residue and is ultra absorbent and ultra soft, this is something that your clients would thank you for. This is super gentle and they are super durable, and when you open each package, they have 10 paper towels folded, perfectly ready for you to use for a tattoo. You won't even use all 10 in one tattoo, but I usually use one of these per tattoo and it works great. This is the premium option if you're trying to be a high quality tattoo artist. You should always make the best decisions for your clients, so I highly suggest MD Wipeouts. Now for the pod. We took a trip to Golden State Tattoo Expo in Pasadena, California, where they graciously let us use a conference room to film a few episodes of the pod. And thankfully we got one in with Mike. So without further ado, let's get into our conversation with Mike Devries. But yeah, the Solon headquarters is tight. We went there, and when we were walking around trying to find a place to do the podcast, it was like so many places you could pick because it looks so beautiful in there.
Yeah.
And I guess anybody that's anybody has been there. It's crazy.
Yeah.
Like,
I'm waiting for Jeremy to ask me to do another shirt.
Ask you, bro. Ask him. You don't think he would do it? He would say yes? He would definitely say yes.
Yeah, I got to hit him up.
Yeah, and I feel like Jeremy has so many connections with so many people, and he even told me, he's like, sometimes if someone doesn't hit him up, he doesn't know to like hit them up because his mind is on so many things. But dude, what was the first shirt you did with him?
I think I did 2, maybe 3. I think it was for sure 2 shirts. There was a couple of skulls.
Yeah, it must have been years ago.
Long time ago.
Yeah.
Probably maybe 15 years ago.
15 years ago. Dude, you're an OG out here, bro. And what's funny is you look fucking young. Yeah. I don't know how you do it.
I feel like I'm 92 though.
Really?
Yeah.
Why is that? Is that like...
I mean, I'm kind of kidding, but for real though, my back and my neck did conventions.
Yeah.
You're just like that the whole time.
Have you tried to do any rehabilitation for that or?
Actually, yeah. I thought I was done a few years back.
Like retired done because you can't go anymore.
I was thinking about retirement because of my back. My neck, I was kind of hunched over this way and kind of down this way.
Yeah.
And somebody hit me up and was like, "Oh, my husband wants to get tattooed." And I'm like, I'm kind of done. And she's like, "Oh, you should come meet my husband. He fixes people." So I went over there. I was like, because it was right down the street. So I was like, okay, I'll check
Like
it out.
chiropractor fixes people or?
I didn't know what I was getting myself into.
Yeah.
So I went over there, and when I walked in, there was like these signed doctor, like just trophies everywhere. And I'm like, and it was like a state-of-the-art type of gym.
Yeah.
And he basically said, "I'll fix you." And I met with him, and basically we were just like worked out, and he just like, he brought everything back. And he actually taught me how to like do things outside, like driving a car. He's like, drive like this, or don't like.
Because having your arms up like this or something is.
Basically, he taught me how to like. He's like, he always told me this. He's like, bring the world to you, bring everything up to you because you're always hunched over,
Oh, going to it. You bring it up to you.
For example, like brushing your teeth.
Yeah.
Like, I always would, rinse my mouth out by going under the faucet. He's like, well, just get a cup and go like that. Or put things higher on the shelves. But basically, I mean, I was pretty bad. I thought I was done. But then after working out with him it only took about 3 months to straighten me out.
Damn. And do you feel like that helped your like posture and everything or?
Yeah.
And the pain, like not fully, but it subsided a little bit enough to where it was like bearable and all that stuff?
Yeah. I see a chiropractor here and there just to kind of straighten things out, but overall pretty good.
Do you feel like what makes the biggest difference? The habits that you do on a day-to-day basis, or the chiropractor type stuff?
I think tattooing, more when you're tattooing, just
The habits that you have tattooing.
straighten up. Like I look at it like this. Like I seriously like tattoo pretty straight. Like if it's not right here, it might be a bad day.
Yeah.
You know, it needs to be like right here.
So even if you're doing, you have that shit up. Yeah.
You got to be up.
I need to do that, bro. Because you get in that mode where you're just like, the tattoo is the most important thing of the day. And people do that for years and years and years. But then they leave their body flapping in the wind. And by the time it's over, you're fucking dead. Like your body is fucked.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. And doing marathon sessions, 10-hour sessions every day. Every day for years.
And for those of you guys that don't know, Mike is really well known for his color realism. And actually, I want to talk about that too, because there had to be a point where you started getting like a lot of traction and being well known. And do you remember like a definitive moment of when that was?
Yeah. So, I mean, I hit it pretty hard straight out the gate. I had a handful of decent tattoos. For the time, they were, people
No,
didn't see
it's
them.
brand new at that time. Like that has not been seen or done at that time.
Yeah, so I submitted to a lot of magazines. Had magazine features all around the world. But there was this one blue monkey that I did. It was like an ape with a shiny tongue, wet. It looked wet and shiny. I mean, that I think really helped put me on the map early on.
Sure. Yeah. Dude, that's super dope. Because I even remember, it's crazy even talking to you now, bro. I know we just like are acquainted now, but fuck, I've been watching your work since I began. I've only been tattooing maybe like 12 years. And how long have you been tattooing?
20.
20.
Going on 21.
Dude,
Time flies.
yeah,
It's
I
insane.
bet. And it's crazy that like I see you as like an OG in the industry that is like a part of the core of the tattoo industry. I'm sure a lot of people see you like that. And it's crazy because like at a certain point, you were just another tattoo artist just like everyone else.
Yeah, I don't feel OG.
Really?
Not really.
And by OG, I don't mean like you're like old or nothing. I just mean like you're a part of that. You're a part of that core group of people that that people would look up to in the industry. There's a bunch of people in there and stuff, whether they're young or old, but like, and maybe I just feel like that because I was been watching you since the beginning of my career. Yeah. So obviously you've been doing it longer than me. So you're going to be OG to me.
Yeah. I feel like, like the Freddie Negrettis and all the, like, I'm not there.
Yeah. Cause they're OG. Like that's the beginning of modern black and gray and stuff like that. Yeah. And I'm super excited to talk to Freddie about that type of stuff. But, what is Steve Butcher? Was he around the same? Mm-mm. He was after.
No, I remember when I first started doing color portraits, there was only a handful. I remember actually my mentor, what showed me, he's like, hey, check this out. Robert Hernandez. There was only a handful though of like color realism. And then it was Dino Cook. There's a few things by him that were really awesome. And then I met Mike DeMasi, and then there was also Nico. Mm-hmm. Was like right around that time. Right.
And yeah, Nico was the forefront of that too. See, I see you guys like you, Nico, like that's exactly how I see it. Is like that's the forefront of it, and that was just like totally new. So now you get deeper into your career, you're well known for that, and now you become like a lot more well known than just a regular artist and stuff. And this is like pre-social media, beginning of social media.
Dude, I think there was MySpace.
So when you did that Blue Monkey, was that MySpace days or did it go to Facebook yet?
It was MySpace.
Damn.
I'm pretty certain it was MySpace, then Facebook. Because I remember I was posting tattoos on MySpace for sure.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And then that's when magazines were like popping back then.
They were popping, and actually I remember there was I only could remember Robert Hernandez had a website, Bob Tyrell.
So even websites were like scarce. Like an artist having a website is like, wow.
I remember this guy that I tattooed. He's like, you should get a website. I was like, he ended up building me one.
Oh, dope.
Yeah, but then I jumped on Tattoo Now pretty early on. But I think, there wasn't many guys. Oh, Joe Cap, I remember had a website. Mm-hmm. There wasn't much.
So how do you feel now? Because, dude, it's changed. The landscape has changed so much in that short amount of time. Like, there's people that barely started tattooing that become famous because of just the type of content they do. And then a lot of tattooing content has become like also entertainment too. So then you mix those two together and it makes like this like viral, crazy, and it's kind of bittersweet too in my point of view, because there's people that like kind of are like okay at tattooing, but they're like known as huge, and they get like such an attention as if they are so good and all this stuff. And then like all the clients think, oh, you're like the best I've ever seen. And that's kind of wild to me because there's people that are really fucking good, but they're not well known at all. And I think they just can't figure out the transition from what they're used to doing social media. How was that for you, like going into the social media area? Because you saw it work out for magazines and you had the MySpace stuff. Did you continue that momentum right into Facebook and Instagram, or was it tough for you too?
Yeah, I mean, I'm just always one to push myself. You know, if these guys are, you know, if people are promoting and marketing over here, you know, I try and jump. You know, like I'm on TikTok already.
Good.
You know, I was on TikTok for a while. You know.
No,
like,
I see some of the stuff you do,
Yeah.
and dude, what the one that you did where clients are getting in the bed. And I know that one did, but that was fucking hilarious,
Yeah,
dude.
we're gonna do more of those. Actually, those are fun.
Those are fun.
Yeah.
And see, that's the key, I think, is learning how to have fun with the content you're making.
Yeah, you know, social media. You know, it's crazy. Like you're saying, like tattoo artists these days have to be like a movie director, a writer, a producer, all of it.
Right.
It's crazy. Actor.
Yeah, and then before you could be like an introverted artist, not really like social. You do really good work, and then like some of the more major outlets like the magazines or something would showcase your work, and you would be the most popular artist because of that, right? Nowadays, if you only post your tattoos, I mean, you could be the best artist in the world and no one would care.
Yeah.
Which is crazy to me, but
That's like something that I think is like nobody cares about just the tattoos anymore.
yeah, 100%. Yeah, and a lot of people hate to hear that, but the way I see it is the people that talk shit about people that do content, I feel like it's just because they haven't done the work to get past those mental blocks that everybody starts with, right? And everybody thinks that's like, oh, these new fucking tattooers are just fucking, they just talk shit about them. But a lot of people I started with a lot of insecurities going into doing content. And a lot of people think I'm a part of that Gen Z era that's like born with tech. I'm not. Like I'm way before that. Took me a long time to get used to even, like I said, my voice and my likeness on video. Because when you put yourself out there, you allow people to judge you just off of what you post.
Yeah, you got to stop caring. And I'm trying to do that too. Like just, it doesn't matter.
Do you read the comments?
Sometimes.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah. Isn't it weird how you can get 1,000 positive comments and you get 5 negative ones and those just stick out so hard?
And they'll dwell on you for like years.
Why?
You'll remember that, but yeah, the thousands.
Why
of good
is
ones,
that,
I don't know.
dude? I guess the negative emotion is stronger than the positive one in some situations.
Yeah.
And then it's funny because I've had it happen where like some of the negative comments might hit something that is actually kind of true. Like they'll say something and I'm like, oh, how did
Because
he
there's
fucking
truth
know that?
Yeah, because there is a little bit of truth to it.
Yeah.
You know, I remember like a couple times, you know, maybe there's like the highlight was maybe a little high, or maybe the lip came out, and they'll call you out on it.
And you
but
were
then you're
thinking
like,
that
"Oh."
to yourself.
But it actually makes you a better tattooer because you're like, no, I'm going to fucking make this perfect.
Yeah.
So
But you
then
do
there's
get
like-
offended a little bit because it's like, who are you to tell me? You're right. But who the fuck are you to tell me?
Yeah.
And then you look at the person's Instagram and they're like either not a tattoo artist or they just don't look like they would know that. But sometimes that third person point of view on a piece that you were only looking at inch by inch, they could see it differently than you can.
Yeah, I also heard somewhere, I think I saw it on TikTok or something, but like when people hate, it actually makes you stronger.
100%.
You know, or take the negative and turn it into positives. You know, that's like a famous saying, right?
And you build up a certain resilience or a thicker skin. And it's funny because you could just chop it up to like, oh, the internet and social media, it's all fake. But at the end of the day, there's people on the other end of those accounts. So those are actual people. So now the opportunity is there to reach more people, but then you also have an opportunity to receive a lot more hate. So if you want the good, you have to accept the bad. And then the better you are secure about whatever you're doing, and you, like you said, taking the negative for the positive, it could be a huge positive to be a part of social media. And I just think it's ridiculous to shun it away and talk shit about people that do it, because there's a lot of people that talk shit about me. There's people that tell me I'm ruining the industry. And
Oh, I couldn't imagine your comments. I actually thought about that recently. I was like, dude, you must get some comments. Do you just delete them?
I don't even delete them, bro.
Do you reply?
I used to. Now, in some situations, I'll have people that support me in there arguing for me, which always feels the best. because
Yeah, people
Dude.
that have your back.
that happens to you a couple times.
Well, I mean, basically, they're just hating. You know what it is? They're just jealous.
They're jealous.
They're just jealous.
They're jealous. And I tell myself that a lot. And I mean, everyone's human and stuff. So some of the stuff I read, I'm like, fuck, damn it, dude. And then like, am I doing this right? Is this even real value? Am I really ruining the industry type shit? But then I get some people that support me that have been in the game a long time, like Jeremy and stuff. And they're like, look, dude, that means you're making waves if you're getting those negative comments. And that means you're doing a good thing. And if you keep going and you keep refining what you're doing, it'll be good as a whole. Like the grander scale, it'll be good as a whole.
Yeah, I agree with that.
Yeah. So
Yeah, for sure.
And like I said, this is the beginning of this podcast that I'm doing, and I'm super intentional about the guests I have on because I feel like this isn't the only reason for it, but a big thing is I feel like there's a gap between the newest generation and then these other generations. Like I said when we were walking in, there's a lot of this new generation that has no clue who anybody is. They don't give a fuck who it is. You could tell them, hey, it would be better if you kind of learned a little bit about tattooing as a whole, like the industry, because then you'll feel like more a part of it and you'll get more fulfillment out of it. And they're like, nah, fuck that. Like they're trying to hustle tattoos because they see now it's easier to get into and you can make a lot of money.
Yeah.
And I guess that's the only negative to it, but I try to embrace the change because it only makes tattooing bigger as a whole. And then the more positive content that we have, like what I'm trying to put out, the more those newer generation can absorb something that's like in between. It's like they understand it because of the way I'm talking and saying and putting it out there, but I'm also stating a lot of stuff that would help them get the most out of being a tattoo artist, you know?
Yeah.
Yeah. And so you're tattooing, you get pretty well known. And by the time, how long have you been doing wipeouts for? Because I think I remember the year, but when was it?
2018.
2018.
So it's about 5 years.
Because I met you a long time ago. I don't know if you remember, but it was briefly. It was actually when I was doing the Ink magazine videos.
Oh, yeah.
And it was in a brief second, but we were outside of the door wherever they were doing it. And I met you.
Yeah.
And you actually gave me a box of wipeouts. And I think that was like right when you started it. So what was the thought process behind doing that business? Because a lot of people try to branch out from just their tattooing and starting a business, but it's tough. It's not easy. Even something like just the wipes, I'm sure there was a huge manufacturing process and where to source stuff, who's printing the packaging and all that. So how did that start?
It took a long time. Well, I mean, I had the idea, I really, at the end of the day, I think that a lot of tattoo artists need to kind of rethink the wipe. Nobody really talks about that much. Like, let's talk about it. Like you're using these paper towels from like the liquor store or CVS or wherever you buy them, but they're just not super clean. You ever open a thing of paper towels and there's like dirt?
Yes.
Like literally, I remember seeing dirt.
Dust.
There's dust, and I just remember that's how I got to idea. I was like, this is next level, let's just take it to the next level. It's cleaner, it's safer. And then that's when I started to experiment with different materials, softness, strength. And it took me like 2 or 3 years to find that perfect material.
Yeah.
And then the thickness, just back and forth with trying different stuff. And then getting it sterilized, figuring out how, where. Yeah, it was a lot of work.
Yeah, and I imagine that it has to happen over time because you don't just go into it and it's like an everyday, all day thing. You're doing it on the side of tattooing, living your life, all this stuff. And every once in a while, you're making small increments moving forward to what would become the product, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. And I tell people all the time because when I push wipeouts like crazy in person, and on the internet.
That.
And the reason being is because you're right. A lot of people are like, well, why would I use wipeouts? Because I use shop towels and they're soft and they work just fine. Like, why would I fix what's not broken? But to your point, my biggest thing, even aside from the softness, the absorbent, the convenience of having a 10-pack, it's the sterile part. Because I see a lot of artists, they'll break off paper towels for their session, and then they'll set the whole stack right here, and then they'll set the roll over here, and they are setting it in place like that is messy, it's dusty. You're grabbing the paper towels all the time, doing a bunch of different shit. And the paper towel comes into contact with the tattoo more than anything else.
Yeah.
Even damn near more than the needle.
You're wiping it like hundreds of times throughout the day if it's a long session.
No, it's definitely a lot. And when I tell people that, they're like, oh. And then
Yeah.
the convenience of having the 10 pack, you're like, okay, I'm gonna open one for right now. I usually open two because I'm doing a lot of heavy black, and I'm sure with a lot of color, it tends to like you would tend to run through them a little quicker because it's thicker ink. So
Yeah.
I tell people, yeah, just start with one pack, try it for this tattoo, and they always end up loving it. And then I'm like, look, all you got to do is do this, and then if you break down the cost, they're not even really spending more, really. It's right there.
It's right there. If you're doing, I mean, well, yeah, you're doing black and gray, but I feel like I hear and see people all the time. They just use 2 or 3 wipes. I mean, I don't usually. That's not like a big selling point for me, or
Yeah.
But it could be done. Like I remember, I tell people I've seen Bob Terrell tattooed the whole side of a head for 6 hours, and he said he started to see signs of wear and tear 6 hours in, and that's the side of the head.
Yeah.
When paper towels, like they just literally shred or get all linty. Tattooing the side
The
of the head
lint
is a pain in
too.
the ass.
The
there's no
wipeouts
lint.
have no lint,
Yeah.
and that's huge. And
That's a big one that I hear from artists, and me too. I remember, like, especially by the time you're on your white highlights, it's a long day, you're in your white highlights, and you've been wiping it, and then that lint gets clogged in there, and you got to like stop what you're doing. Back in the day, you'd stop what you're doing, tear it all down, and rebuild the whole thing. Now it's like, well, you grab a new cartridge, or you got to push the thing out and get that clump out of there.
and then
So
even
that's
whatever
why.
residue of those lint that might be on the tattoo when you're trying to take photos, you're sitting there trying to do that feathering brush with the paper towel to get it off, and you're like trying to knock it all off and stuff.
Yeah, and you know what? Like, here's might be the biggest, other than the sterilized thing. The biggest is your client.
Yeah, 100%.
Your client complains less. It's like, oh, it's because it hurts less. This is I was thinking about making a TikTok on this, but maybe I will, maybe I won't. But I don't know. I thought it would be funny, but something to do with, like, you don't wipe your butt with paper towels, and you don't blow your nose with paper towls,
Right.
Because
they're too
if you
rough
have a
and they're
cold, if you have a cold and you're constantly blowing your nose, and it's just going to irritate it. Your nose, your butt is sensitive.
My grandma always used to tell me that don't use the paper towels because your sensitive red nose is just going to get more dry and just all like, it's going to hurt. It's going to hurt. And it's the same principle with the tattoo.
Yeah, it's a wound.
Yeah.
It's sensitive.
Yeah.
And that's one thing. Ever since I started using wipeouts, I don't really hear my clients complain about the wipe,
I would say the same thing.
which also buys you more time in the chair.
And it's funny because people might take it for granted because they're like, oh, it's just a part of the process. Of course, the wiping is going to hurt. It's just a part of it. I'm tattooing you for 8 hours. At a certain point, it's going to feel raw and it's going to hurt. And I'm like, well, you could mitigate that a lot more than you think.
Yeah.
And especially, like, I've done like necks and really sensitive areas. If you go 6 to 8 hours on neck and you're wiping with a regular paper towel, bro,
Yeah.
it is ripping your skin off. And then at the same time, what I noticed overseeing my healed work over time, I really feel like if you're accidentally dry wiping or you're using a rough paper towel, it could affect the heel.
I was just gonna say that.
Yeah.
Like, does it have an effect on the heel?
I think it does. I think it does, because especially I see some people, you might have good wiping habits. I have good wiping habits because you know better, you're intentional about it, and you've developed good habits. There's artists that I see, and I forget that this could be a thing because I don't do it, but they are just so fucking careless with how they're wiping, how harsh they're wiping, how many times they're wiping when it's completely already wiped off. And I'm like, why are you still wiping them? I'll tell some of my artists, I'm like, dude, they're trying to show me the piece and stuff, and they keep wiping. I'm like, why are you wiping so much?
Yeah.
There's nothing on the tattoo. And I swear, especially with a rough paper towel, it would make sense that it would like damage the skin more. You're already worried about the needle damaging the skin. How would a rough paper towel on the surface not damage the outside of the skin? Of course it would.
Yeah.
So I tell them, like, especially when you start the tattoo and you're doing gray lines and all that, you could dab for so long.
Yeah.
And don't worry about getting it fucking completely. You don't need it completely wiped off every time.
Yeah.
You dab. You get the solid black. You do a little dab and a wipe. And I just think good habits with wiping too is a huge deal.
Yeah.
And the wipeouts make it so much more easier to do that because people are just so used to the traditional paper towels. And I get people telling me, like, why would I even use them? And I'm like, if you use them, you would understand. But I'm not going to fucking argue with you about, like, why these are better.
Yeah.
Eventually they'll figure it out.
Yeah.
Because I feel like wipeouts are going to be an industry standard if they already aren't creeping up on it, right?
Yeah.
So like the business side of it, when you're trying to push out this supply and you're trying to get people to replace something that is cheap and has been used forever, how do you go about that? Is it just the social media? Is it the conventions that you get the most out of?
Man, it's tricky.
Yeah.
It is because
It's probably the hardest part.
Well, what I think I realized is, you heard loyal to the coil. Mm-hmm. I think they're also loyal to the roll. Mm-hmm. So it takes time. I'm also co-founder of Stencil Stuff, and I
didn't even know that.
That took years to get people to be like, oh, they used to say, I'll make my own, or a speed stick's fine.
Damn, that was the standard before Stencil Stuff. That's crazy.
Speed stick. Yeah, absolutely.
And I knew about the speed stick, but like, I think I'm so used to Stencil Stuff being around, I don't even think about anything else,
Yeah. So it's funny. I always say, I feel like I'm, the first guy through the door gets shot type of thing.
Yeah.
I started tattooing with the little air powered Numa. Oh, that ain't going to last. Let me see that in 5 years. Okay. Well, and then it's like, oh, no lines. Oh, and then it's like, oh, Stencil Stuff. Yeah, you don't need that. And here I am with wipeouts.
So you have experience with creating something that was like you're pushing against like a resistance to make it like a standard. But Stencil Stuff really did become an industry standard.
Oh yeah.
And now you're trying to do that again. I guess that would be a huge complaint that you would get about your work too. Is they would always probably say, "Let me see that in 5 years. It's gonna blur together and all of that stuff." Yeah. But I don't think they understand how contrast and edges work when you're doing that type of stuff.
Yeah.
Because that's really what it is, isn't it?
It's all about contrast.
It's all about contrast.
Yeah.
And obviously, even if there's not a black line here, if this side is dark brown and this side is a value of yellow that's light, like it's gonna hold the line. Of course it would, right?
It'll hold.
Yeah. And what I'm starting to learn about color, talking to color artists, is it's less about the color you're using and more about the value of the color you're using. Is that right?
The value, 100%.
It's all value, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. And that's how you get the contrast, because I think people are like, oh yeah, green and red, they contrast. Yeah.
It's not about the color.
It's not about the color.
No.
And that's why people can get away with doing a bunch of undertone colors and stuff, because it's like, as long as the overall value of the thing that you're doing contrasts from the background and whatever's next to it, you can get away with a bunch of like purple undertones and something, as long as the value's right.
Yeah, for sure.
Dude, that's advanced. And I think a lot of people just go straight for that's not going to heal well.
Yeah, I got color realism all over me.
Looks great, I bet.
25 years old, and it looks almost like the day it was done.
Who did your work?
Actually, my mentor did a couple of pinups on me. Actually, my hand, this portrait's like 20 something years old.
Damn.
Damn,
dude.
No touch-ups.
Yeah.
Then I have color pinup kind of realism on my leg that he did. That it looks beautiful.
Yeah.
Maybe it's lost a little luster.
But I mean, all tattoos are going to lose a luster, even if it's a traditional tattoo.
Yeah. But I still, sometimes I'll see realism that just looks like garbage. I'll see it and be like, huh. It's because it wasn't tattooed correctly to begin with.
100%.
And then also they probably messed up in the sun. But all tattoos age. They could all get messed up with the sun, But if it was tattooed correctly at the beginning, it's gonna heal. It's gonna heal and age correctly.
It's gonna age more gracefully than if you were to tattoo it the wrong way. Yeah. At least it's gonna age, but the aging is gonna be way higher quality than whatever if you did it the wrong way.
What trips me out is seeing all of these like old tattoos that are all blown out and all the lines are together. Mm-hmm. But these guys are swearing by the lines. Yeah. But I'm seeing the proof is in the pudding. Look at everybody with all these old tattoos. They don't look good, and it's because they were lined to death.
Yes.
I think realism is going to age better.
I do too, and especially the type of realism I do. I keep in mind the boldness and the contrast and stuff, right? And I try to do it for the heel, and I get that a lot too, where they're just like, oh, it's not. But just because it's realism, they'll say, oh, it's not going to hold because it doesn't have a black line. And I'm like, you have no idea what you're talking about, because this is the most solid, most bold way to do realism while keeping the realistic look.
Yeah.
Yeah. And that's why I love doing it like that, because it's graphic. It's as graphic as you could get with realism before it becomes like an actual like graphic illustration or something, right? And I just love the way that stuff heals. And Yeah, dude, I could see how that could be tough. So now with wipeouts, where you're at right now, are you guys still just trying to find new marketing ways and new things to make it even bigger, or like what is the pain point for you growing bigger? Is it just that?
Yeah, I mean, I'm just pushing it, just trying.
So you sponsor artists here and there, and then they push it. So there's that. There's the influencer side. There's you pushing your own. Even with the TikTok and stuff, anything you can get yourself is going to help the business.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah. Just getting out there,
It's so crazy how nowadays you could do a TikTok that'll go viral. You could change the whole business.
Yeah.
It could become above and beyond,
Yeah.
just from one TikTok. And
Yeah.
that's fucking.
Yeah. I mean, it's crazy, but that's where it's at. But yeah, that's where it's going. That's what we're going to do.
Yeah.
We've been dabbling in it already, but we're going to do more of it.
I mean, from my point of view, outside looking at it, it seems like it's doing really well. But every business behind the scenes, especially if you're talking about breaking even and like keeping up on inventory, and then you sponsor artists, so you're letting product go for less, and then you have to make up for that with whatever business you get back in. And I could imagine it's a constant balance of that, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's hard.
It's hard.
It's not easy.
You almost got to be ready to take a loss for a long time, because I'd imagine you put more into it than you get out of it for a long time.
Yeah.
And especially on low margin probably not low margin, high margin, but low ticket price, you got to sell a lot of them, right?
Yeah.
Dude, God, that's got to be tough, man.
Yeah.
But you're playing the long game.
I'm playing the long game.
Yeah. Because you support yourself with the tattooing. You're good. You got your shop. You got all of that. You got your family. And it's just cool to be a part of something that could eventually become a norm, just like stencil stuff.
Yeah.
I see it to be like any new tattoo artists that come out of this, even this new generation, if they knew about wipeouts right away, they're going to go buy their Cheyenne pen, or they're going to go buy their Bishop wand, and then they're going to get wipeouts.
Yeah.
That would be tight. That's what I would want to happen.
Yeah.
Dude.
Yeah. And we got other new products too in the works that are going to be cool. And the one that's already out is the cleansing tattoo wipes. Have you tried the cleansing during, like actually tattooing?
I tried it during. The only thing is like I could only use a few during, and then I had this whole pack. So how do you go about that? Are you pulling out a few, or are you using all of them?
So I'll use the whole pack. If I got a long session, I'll just be like, okay, I'm just gonna contaminate this whole pack, because there's 40 of them. We got 40 wipes in the pack, and I'm just gonna use them all, And I have a lot of them, so I get a little careless with them, but I'll use the whole pack. I don't even get out green soap. I don't even need my soap, and it's actually really good. The more you use it, they're really nice. So like, because I use those crazy computerized like Photoshop stencils, or use the Pony's stencil app.
There's a lot of going on in that stencil.
Yeah, it's ridiculous. It's crazy. It's just craziness. But I say it's like precise wiping. There's no like.
Got you.
With the green soap, there's no foam. Like, where do you put the foam? Is it you get into that stencil, you get into that purple, and all of a sudden it's smearing, and then that could be the end of the world, right? So with the cleansing wipes, the wet ones, you could just get surgical.
So that's why I guess I was going to ask, is because if you get too loose with the cleansing wipes and you just start like wiping maybe like you normally would, like you need to only wipe this, but people will start up here and wipe all the way down. And now there goes your stencil.
Yeah, you got to be careful.
Yeah.
It's just like with anything, you still want to be careful.
To your point, the precision wiping makes total sense, because it's wet, it's going to get it first try, but that means you don't need to do this whole large wipe. You just fucking get in there, tap it, and then it comes off, right?
Yeah, and you can't mess up. Like sometimes if you put the green soap on there, it could be too wet, and then all of a sudden it crosses that barrier where you didn't want to touch.
Yep.
Or
100%.
foam could go that way. So yeah, precision wiping is what I'm calling it.
Dope.
It's good.
I think it's good for people to know that, because even as they think about buying the cleansing wipes, they would want to know exactly how to use them. And even though that seems obvious to you, it's a lot of people that are just like, well, I can't use this, it's too wet. But they only feel like that because they're wiping the same way they always do.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, they're not too wet, not too dry. They're just right. But also, I like pulling 3 or 4 out at a time and almost using it as like kind of like a pad. So you're wiping on one side, you flip it over, do this, and then you peel one off. And then you could flip that one, peel.
And you could use that
peel,
for a long time.
Yeah.
Wow, dude.
So me, like I said, I'll just use the whole pack, contaminate the whole pack if it's a long day, but if it's a short session or small tattoos, just pull out a nice little stack. Boom.
Okay.
And there
Just
you go.
don't contaminate it. Pull out a stack, close it up, and that's the benefit because you can close it all the way and it'll hold the moisture.
Yeah.
And you could keep that pack over a couple tattoos if that's how you want to do it.
Yeah.
And then,
for sure, yeah.
And then
It
there's
could
the
last a
other
long time.
side, which is the aftercare side, right?
Yeah.
So real quick, how would someone use that as an aftercare product?
So the cleansing wipes are for artists and aftercare. And so it's the easiest way to clean a tattoo.
Yeah.
Besides the derm. Like I understand that's probably the easiest. And it's good. I use the derm.
You use derm?
Oh yeah. Mm-hmm. Yeah. Do you?
I tried it once, and this could be just like a once in a lifetime thing, but I had someone have a reaction to the adhesive on the outside.
Is it? Yeah.
And that's, I guess I just didn't use it after that. But a lot of more people are using it, and it seems like that's becoming another standard, right?
Yeah.
How do you feel about the derms?
I think the derm is really good, but there is a point when it comes off and you still need to clean your tattoo, or the next day it'll fall off,
And the cleansing wipe is perfect for that because you take that off and then you get this like easy, just wipe it down with the cloth.
It's easy.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, man, I want to try that stuff. I'm just kind of nervous. Do you leave the derm on for how long?
So this is the best that I've found. This is what I do.
Sure.
So I have it wrapped. I clean it, make sure it's done bleeding and all that stuff. Let it settle for 5-10 minutes, and then wrap it. Leave that on till the next day. I tell them you could take it off in the morning, afternoon, just the next day. Whenever you take a shower, take it off in the shower.
Yeah.
And clean your tattoo real good, soap and water, and then get out of the shower, pat it dry, finish drying yourself. Wait like 5 to 10 more minutes, and then put a new piece on and leave that on for 5 days.
Okay, so you have the client put on the second piece.
Yeah.
And then by the time they take it off, is it fully healed or is it healed enough to where they could take it off and now it's just dry? Because that's a short amount of time, 5 days.
Well, my stuff, it's pretty much healed.
Yeah. Well, good for you, man, because that's and I guess it depends on how you tattoo too, because some tattoos are more traumatic to the skin. And some people are really like saturated packing, like really harsh. If they're doing a line, they're sinking it, but at the same time, it's like overdoing it. And I think that all affects the heel.
Yeah.
And what you're saying is like 5 days should be enough to get it to where it's pretty much not an open wound.
Maybe some people might want to go 6. For my work, it's 5 to 6, but typically I say 5. I'm sticking with 5.
Yeah.
But when I'm tattooing, it's like I'm not going over areas it's like it's kind of like, okay, that's good. Moving on. Okay, that's blue, dark blue. Okay, I'm just putting it what it needs to be right out the gate. I remember
A lot of people build up.
Yeah, many years ago. I made videos and stuff like that, like educational videos and books where it's like layering. Just go over it. Use water. Just go over it and layer and layer and layer.
That's what like Guy Aitchison does too.
Yeah, I don't do that. I just put it in.
Because if you know it needs to be this value in this color, you don't need the build up to it.
You don't need to.
And I guess that comes with experience and confidence in what you're doing, because a lot of people overthink the shadowed part and the highlighted part. But if like, I know that this is going to be this value and I don't need to build up to it. I could just hit that, leave the highlighted part open, and I'll hit that last type thing.
Yeah. So I've noticed that it's not a guess. It's not like flip a coin and be like, well, let's hope for the best that heals good.
Right.
Hopefully I didn't go over it one too many times.
Yeah.
So I feel like it's a guarantee good heal.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, I want to try it. I mean, could you use it on like extra? I do it like big pieces, right?
But big and soft, black and gray, that could be a little bit different. That's when you might want to like layer. I mean, there's layering still part of the game. I saw one of your videos, one of your Q&As or something the other day.
Yeah.
And it was, what was it? It was something about, oh man, I forgot. I'm having a brain fart.
No, it's all good. Was it about shading? Was it about application, or was it about like? I'm trying to remember what I posted recently. I don't remember. I'm not the one who posts them actually.
Man, it was something with like shading and the way that you're your technique on your needles. Like, are you doing circles? Are you doing back and forth? Well, you're using all of it. You're using the side. You're going back. You're doing everything.
Right.
You know, and that's pretty good.
You agree with that?
Yeah.
Yeah.
What's interesting is when I was everything that you say, I agree with. Actually.
Really?
Yeah.
That's good to hear.
Yeah. There's never a time when I'm like, nah.
Yeah.
Yeah. No. Pretty much. I don't think there has been a time where I'm like, I don't agree. I'm like, yeah, that's spot on.
Dude, that's good to hear because I mean, I know you know what you're doing and stuff, and a lot of people they like have it in their head in a certain way. But the stuff I try to say, I'm very careful. Like, I'm not going to speak on anything that I don't know to be objectively correct. Like, no matter who you ask, if they know what they're doing, they would say it's correct. I'm not doing stuff that's too opinionated or something that lives in a gray area. I'm like, no, this would be the best way to do it. And then in that, I just hope that there's no room for me to kind of like give away bullshit. Because the worst thing you could do is get a platform and then give bullshit information. Yeah. And I'm not trying to do that. And I only speak on stuff that I know. I try to stay away from other stuff. And I just practice what I preach, you know, and a lot of people follow that. And it's good to hear that you agree with a lot of that stuff. And it makes me feel good about some of those videos. But now it's super cool to do podcasts like this because those are like live Q&As with just talking to people through the live. They ask me a question, I answer it just because it's an easiest way to interact while I'm at my shop. And it's like, but I've always loved the idea of having guests. And I'm super blessed to have already been at a point where I could ask someone like you to come on. And mind you, I'm super grateful for you to do this.
Thanks for having me.
I know it's just fucking like oh, do the pod and all this, but it is a big deal that you could just come over here and do this. And I know you did it last minute on the spot, and I really appreciate you just going through with it. And I think it's really dope. I think people can get a lot out of it, and I think people can get a lot out of knowing more about the wipeouts too. Because when we post this, I really want to plug that and make sure you guys know this is the new standard for it. If you haven't caught up yet, you will, because someone's going to like push you to do that. And if no one has, I want to push you to do that. It needs to be sterile. Your paper towels need to be sterile. They need to be soft because you're thinking about your client. Don't be so selfish to just say like, oh, they just got to put up with it because that's just how it is. Anything that you could do to make your tattooing process better, and especially if you want to be known as like really good, you want to get paid good money and all this stuff, you can't skimp on all that stuff. And I want everybody that's watching to know that it's all in the details. You can get away with using bullshit shit only for so long until someone's going to call you on your bullshit. And now you just really need to take pride in each step of the process. So MD Wipeouts, is there anything else that you want to plug? Wipeouts, your shop, anybody?
I think that's it. Thanks for having me. I appreciate it.
Yeah, I know you got to go, so we'll wrap it up. But yeah, follow MD Wipeouts. Mike Devries is the Instagram. He's great company, great guy, and I'm glad to have him. And we will see you on the next episode. Yeah.